Hey Team YouTube, just want to take a little bit of time and talk about this Motive Products power bleeder. I bought one of these off eBay, and I just want to tell you about my personal experience. This is not any sort of paid endorsement or anything like that. I just want to talk about how it worked for me. So anyhow, in my last video I did a new brake booster, master cylinder reservoir, and pulled a couple of these brake lines that go down to the ABS module from a local junkyard that was in really great shape. My only challenge was I had to bleed a lot of air out of the system. I did dump as much brake fluid out of the reservoir as well as pumped the master cylinder dry, so I had a whole system that needed a bench bleed on the master cylinder as well as fluid added to the reservoir, and of course the brake lines that going down to the ABS module were filled with air, so lots of stuff needed. I had an assistant help me, and at the end of the night it ended up that I just missed a whole lot of air in the system. After an hour or so's worth of work and the assistant pumping, we had full pedal travel and no brakes at the end of the night, and I thought, this sucks. I'm gonna go buy something. So I did some research, and I thought this Motive Products power bleeder product looked as good as any, and so I bought it with my own money, my own scratch. And so what did I buy? Well, I bought the what comes in the main kit, and this is round number 70 to 80 bucks. You get the jug, and by the way, this plastic is pretty thick. This isn't like one of those cheapy garden sprayers. It's actually fairly thick plastic. And you get the pump handle on it, you get some plastic tubing, and the main stuff that comes with the accessories is you get the European adapter. Now, of course, I own no European vehicles, and so that's unused. It also comes with the classic rectangular master cylinder reservoir. They say 4GM, and this is the 1105. And pardon, this is the 1101, the European one. 1100. And you also get a couple of these chain hold downs you throw under the master cylinder, so you take the top off of your reservoir and put this on and seal it down. And then the other one, the so-called universal one, is just round. The idea is, what I started with is, you take the cap off, you put it down on it, and then you tighten the chain with the wing nuts there, and that's that. And each one of these comes, of course, with an NPT, and you have to use a little pipe tape on it because it is NPT. It's not naturally sealing. So the one night I went and I tried this, the very first step they tell you to do with it is to pump it up with no fluid in it, and hold pressure, for whatever. And I did that, and I was losing a few psi over a number of minutes. I thought, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong, so maybe it's a problem with the product, maybe it's a problem with me. So I said, well, what's the most likely leak spot? It's going to be the rubber seal to your reservoir lip. And I thought, well, I'm just going to buy the 1108, and this is another 25 bucks round numbers. So my whole bill is, what, $110 or something for this whole getup, and that comes with a cap, and I have, it also comes with a couple of rubber seals. This is kind of a thicker one. In here, there's a thinner rubber donut, and there you can see it's kind of concave for whatever reason. And that's what you get for that 1108 kit. So anyhow, I went back and I pressurized with this again, just with air. And then what happened was, it did about the same thing, and the pressure fell off, a few psi after, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes. I thought, well, maybe that's good enough, because apparently I'm not going to be able to do any better. So anyhow, let's just talk about my experience on another cut here. So the way this thing gets used again is you first want to try the system with air. And with the GM adapter, and by this works, I think, on every vehicle I own, maybe except for my Oldsmobile. I'll have to go take a look. But either way, you put this on, obviously remove the cap first, and you tighten it about 1/3 of a turn. That's really about all the movement you can get. And you do have to press down pretty hard. It's these three-way tabs here. You have to push pretty hard to get those to engage. Obviously, you're trying to hold pressure, so that you need that to happen. So anyhow, like I say, you do a bleed down test just with air. If that is successful, and by the way, you never want to release pressure by taking this off. I read that in the directions and I still managed to botch it. But anyhow, you always release pressure by pulling the, loosening the cap. That's the better way to do it. So they recommend to put in 2 quarts of brake fluid. That may sound like a lot, but to purge the whole system where you go from that color change of, you know, your cloudy or greenish or whatever brake fluid all the way to super clear brake fluid, you probably will end up needing about 1.5 quarts. So anyhow, I had the car up in jacks, and jack stands rather, and I went ahead and poured in the 2 quarts of brake fluid and pressurized it. And so let me get my other prop here, I forgot about it. So at each wheel piston or wheel cylinder, I used the standard jug with a piece of tubing in it. And then a tip I saw online was to use another YouTube video, to use a zip tie to hold the hose on. And then this truly is a one-person job. Obviously that would go on your bleeder screw, and you crack it, and then every so often you come back and you have to pump this up again. I didn't have any problems, even though the system lost a little pressure. I didn't have any problems with brake fluid going everywhere because of some, you know, hidden leak or something like that. My system actually was otherwise good. By the way you clean this system out is they recommend denatured alcohol. And all I did to clean it out was, after I was done, I poured my remaining brake fluid back in one of the original containers, put the screw on the lid tight, and then I poured a cup or 2 of that denatured alcohol in, swished it around, and then I used the pump mechanism to pump it through and to rinse it out. That is the recommended cleaning method. They actually do not recommend using brake clean. This plastic must be something that's not really very compatible with brake clean or any other solvents. I mean, alcohol is a pretty good solvent. It's just a different kind of solvent, I guess. So anyhow, my experience was that I was able to do the job all by myself, and I had the car in the air, and I just went around, and I would, crack the bleed screw open, and I would let literally, let's say this thing would get, let's say, 1/3 to 1/2 full. This is a 1 liter fizzy water jug, and I would let it go until it was a real obvious color change, and I knew I was pumping, primo fluid into it. And then I, turn off the bleeder screw, and I proceed. And I did the standard farthest to nearest, so right rear, left rear, right front, left front. And what I ended up with was a system that the very first time I pumped the pedal, everything felt pretty good. I think there was maybe a tiny bit of air in the system somewhere else, or maybe there was an air pocket, but either way, the brake pedal firmed up over the first couple of times I drove it. So when I got in it, and a couple times later, it just was a really good experience. And so, do I recommend this product? I would say it works as long as you follow the directions and kind of do everything by what they recommend you to do. Now, I will say this, that I was an idiot and I pulled the cap off before I depressurized the container because I was just getting in a hurry. And yes, you do make a mess if you do that. Got out the brake clean and basically sprayed out all around here because of the container here blowing up like a balloon. I pumped out many ounces of brake fluid, and I'm pretty disappointed in myself for that. But either way, I just want to let you know that all of the recommendations in the directions seem like they do have a basis. So I guess I'd recommend this, but either way, I was not disappointed by the performance of the product, and I was able to do a one-man brake bleed, and I was able to do something where there was a lot of air in the system, not just the master cylinder and the reservoir were open, but also brake lines all the way down to the brake module. So yeah, got all the air out. It did take a while though. And I guess that's all I got for you, YouTube. Have a great day. Hey Team YouTube, how about some bonus footage? Here is the master cylinder in my 98 Oldsmobile 88, otherwise known as the Regency. And this looks definitely compatible with the Motive Products 1108 kit. It has the 3 tabs on the cap, So that looks good. Let's go check everything else out.